SebOSS, Sebastian Witchmann. I got him on the podcast. He's a learning and development specialist. He's worked with big Fortune 500 companies such as Rolls-Royce, Vodafone, Adobe, you name it. And he helps with culture transformation. He's also an entrepreneur coach / consultant, an NLP practitioner, and a bloody good bloke. I'm really grateful to be able to call SebOSS my friend. This particular episode is one of my favorites so far. Not only did I chop it up real nice for YouTube, break in some new equipment, but the conversation itself dove into some really exciting topics of the psychology of refereeing, such as perfectionism, nervousness, creating clarity. So, without further ado, find out why referees are just spoons. Right here, right now, with the SebOSS Witchmann. My first question, Seb, is...
You go straight into it.
So I'm going straight in. What's with the bananas?
Well, I'm also called the monkey.
The monkey.
The monkey,
Okay. Yeah. So what's... Yeah.
I love bananas.
You're going to eat all those?
Well, this is probably a third left. I get 25 kilograms every 2 weeks.
A third?
Yeah. So I already have eaten quite a bit.
Too right.
Mm-hmm.
SebOSS, I got a question for you straight off the bat, like a real question, actually.
Uh-huh.
For me personally, when I actually sit down and have these conversations, I find sometimes, and this is like a genuine question for me to ask you, I find sometimes that I get a bit nervous, and it's almost like, I don't know why. And so I get a bit tense, particularly when I'm not doing an interview with someone that I know, like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that little bit of pressure and that inner critic comes in and it starts telling me, oh, don't mess it up, or say the right thing, or make sure it's perfect so that people get value.
Mm-hmm.
And I second guess myself on these things. And I think it hinders the conversation that I have with the person sometimes, because I'm too in my head and I can't sit back and relax and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for you, as someone who's had a lot of experience in, important situations such as talking to your clients. Obviously, you've talked to, what's the highest client you've had? You said you've worked with Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah. Right now, Adobe is one of my clients.
Adobe. Like, do you feel that sense of like, and you put out a lot of content, all this sort of type of thing. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
You know the feeling?
Yeah. And I have that as well. It's all just psychological, and this is kind of know this. I, for example, I struggle much more with, it actually says SebOSS.
Yeah. SebOSS. Yeah.
I struggle much more with when I get recorded than when it is just live. So, when I speak in front of Adobe, so I have twice a month workshops with senior executives inside Adobe. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine. But when things get recorded, I'm getting a little nervous as well. And, in the end, it has all to do with like a self-image, it has all to do with kind of, a story we tell ourselves, that if we don't perform, we may get judged and all that. And like my story is, my head is more it's more about, things are recorded. This is what my story in my head is.
Yeah.
It is recorded, and therefore you can't delete it. It's there. It's like there forever, right? And this scares me a bit. I'm like, oh, hopefully I perform. But this very thought, I need to perform, prevents you to perform.
Yeah, and I think this same concept of that performance anxiety or whatever you want to label it, I think it affects in the same way. I think it can be transmuted into performance anxiety for actually going out on the court and reffing a big game and things like that. I feel like
it's the same.
There's a connection there.
Yep.
And so yeah, now we've rooted what the problem is, but how do you go about making sure that it doesn't have as much impact on you negatively and overcoming that? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's a tricky one. One way of overcoming it, and this is not very satisfactory because it takes time, is experience.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of like this, you learn about that you didn't die last time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You didn't die. It's nothing,
the world.
nothing broke. You may made a mistake at a moment, but we all do so. And, as long as we put our best foot forward and we can look in the mirror and saying we tried, we gave it our best shots, I think this is all we can expect in that moment, right? We all have it. So one is experience, I think, that we just have to go through those moments, so those moments of anxiety almost, to come out on the other end to say it wasn't all that bad. And you're kind of chipping away on this crust, this psychological crust where we tell ourselves, hopefully we don't do a mistake. That's number one. And then number two is just to setting ourselves up for success before we walk into the situation. And there are certain, I think, ways in which we can prepare our minds to not think about not to fuck up, but to think about to performing well. So you kind of, you're focusing on what you want to create rather than to focus on what you don't want to experience.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to fuck up. I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to fail.
Right.
What are you focusing on? You're focusing on to fail. In fact, the mind cannot negate or process negations directly, meaning that if I ask you to not think of a blue elephant, what do you think of?
Yeah.
This initial moment is a blue elephant, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you may deviate away from it.
Yes.
And you think about something else. This is a will, right? But the focus of the mind is very powerful, and you never focus on the things you do not want to experience. Focus on the things you want to experience. See yourself performing well on the court. And then then physiologically as well, there are various things you can do. So it's really putting yourself in a favorable environment where you perform really well.
Yeah, I like it. That's actually really helpful. I also listened to something the other day, and it just kind of came through now. And it's kind of funny because I'm just a beginner as even doing this podcast. So someone was saying on another podcast, they were like, no one's going to care about the dumb thing you said on the podcast that no one listens to because you're a beginner, right? And it's the same as if you're a referee on an under 12s game or under 14s or 16s, you're not in the NBL yet. You're not at the highest level. There's not a big audience waiting to criticize you.
Man.
And I think that's, those imagined troubles that we make up in our head. I imagine, all these people are going to hate me, but realistically, no one's going to listen.
Make mistakes now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't make them now? Imagine you are suddenly ending up in the NBA and then you make mistakes. Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Then you're very quickly back to the
That's so true.
Onto the couch, right?
Yeah. Back to square one.
But, so make mistakes,
I like it.
And one thing to add to that is that the experience kind of pulls you through. Right. So in the podcast, for example, right now, us relaxing and having a good laugh and being authentic and just natural and just hanging out gives the audience a much better experience than us being stiff and just thinking about what to say. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about what we say as how we say it and how we create an experience around this. And I think, I'm not sure, but as a referee, it's probably similar as well. Yes, it matters what you do, but also the way you go about it. If you're relaxed, the players will relax. If you're tense, the players are tense, right? So,
That's such a good point. I agree.
And you got to lead in that moment. You are a leader once you're on the field, right? And you got to lead in empowering ways with respect and with, authenticity. And that is done, in a natural way.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Thank you.
So be yourself,
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Hey, I listened to something else yesterday.
Oh, you listen to a lot of things.
I listen to a lot of things, and things just come in my mind like crazy.
Right.
And when I'm relaxed like this, they come to me. And it was funny because I listened to something and it gave me just a big moment. And it was like, the world expects nothing from you, Nathan, except for you to be Nathan. And I was like, oh yeah, they don't need me to provide anything or to do anything or to be anything. And by just showing up authentically, automatically you're contributing what you're supposed to the situation. I was like, I don't actually have to try to do or be anything. It's enough.
Yeah, it's hard
You
to,
know?
it's easier said than done, right? So I know that a lot of people, including myself, have struggled with this, and sometimes I still do. But again, it's just about acknowledging that and being okay with it and just kind of relaxing into it again, you know? It's a journey.
And so the next kind of point to this, Seb, that I have is...
I thought my name is SebOSS.
SebOSS. Your name is SebOSS.
Oh,
Everyone, SebOSS. The second point that I have to this SebOSS is... I'll speak for myself, actually, because I think it'll be easier for the conversation. And that way I'm not deflecting to other people. So for myself, I find that, at least in the past, and something that I actively work on, is this habit of people pleasing, right? So I find that I become a bit of a people pleaser, and I've kind of stemmed back where that comes from. It's kind of like the fear of getting rejected, and so then you try to please other people in order to feel more accepted and loved and all that stuff.
Sure.
But I think it harms me, at least internally, as a referee. At least internally. Sometimes it comes out externally as well. So picture this, right? I'm out there refereeing a basketball game where 50% of the time, actually no, 100% of the time, one team's going to lose. And most of the time, these guys, they're not going to be happy about it. So it's impossible to please everyone. Impossible.
Difficult spot for Nathan, right?
A difficult spot for someone who actually struggles to feel, that criticism and yeah. Do you know kind of where I'm coming from?
Yeah, sure.
And so I guess my question is, what can I do for myself to dim this conflict I have around the need to please everyone all the time and valuing everyone's opinion so highly and having it shake me? How can I be more grounded and strong in who I am so that it doesn't affect?
Yeah, I think, it's a good question, and I think there's a disconnect between kind of your own struggle psychologically again, right? Because it's always us, it's nobody else, but we know that, right?
Right.
There's a disconnect between who, your own struggle with things, and you're not the only one, right? We have, we all have our things, right? In the actual role that you play as a referee. So if you think about it, if we go back to the actual goal of a referee, so chunk it all the way up. What's the goal? What's the purpose? Let's go back to the purpose of the referee.
Right.
What are you there for?
So we're there to pretty much control the game, like pretty much be the judge for the game so that it's played fairly, so that an outcome can be accomplished between two teams. So basically it's two teams.
Okay.
And we're like the mediator, or someone who's trying to make sure everyone's playing by the rules so that whoever is the better team, in fairness, will win. And so we're pretty much trying to mediate this and be the judge to make sure, both teams are playing fairly and the correct result is happened.
So where's the disconnect between you being somebody who feels the need to please people and the referee?
So I guess...
Can you see that those two people don't really function in the same... It doesn't work, right?
Yeah,
you can't please people while being a really strong and good referee, right?
Right.
Because as a referee, you need to be neutral.
Absolutely.
It's not about pleasing at all. It's about being neutral about doing the right thing. Refereeing correctly without actually focusing on anyone, but the actual action and the ball and how the rules engage with that, right?
For sure.
So you got to really take yourself out of the equation, really. Can you see that?
I absolutely see that.
Right.
And I believe I can see that that's the reality. But why do let's put it this way, why do I feel so yuck after games where, someone's lost and they hate me for that, at least in that moment? They're like, you suck, I never want you to ref my game. Why do I feel so yuck about that when all I've been doing is trying to ref this game fairly to the best of my ability as that unemotional, neutral person.
Sure. It's tough, right? Because this goes back to very basic things. I need to feel loved. Like, it sounds like really airy-fairy, but this is where it resides from, right? We all want to be appreciated, loved, and kind of respected and all that. And if somebody tells you you're being a
you're terrible.
Being terrible.
You wanted to choose a different word.
Right? You're being, So first of all, where does this reside from, right? So the person that kind of approaches you in that way, look through their eyes. What is their intent, right? So they're probably have a vested interest in winning.
For sure.
Right? Their ego is kind of caught up and involved in the need to win.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Their self-esteem is involved for their need to win.
For sure.
Right? If they don't win, how do they feel about themselves? Right? And it's a quite frankly a weak character, a son of a weak character, if somebody feels the need to pull the gun and blame someone else for their misdoing. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
It's like me. It's like clearly I dropped the shopping bags, and I'm like, hey, why did you drop my shopping bags?
Yeah.
What the heck? Come on. Right? My hands weren't freaking strong enough to hold the shopping bags.
Yeah.
So it's a weak character if in that moment of me realizing my failure, my undoing, my misdoing,
they can't handle
judging
that it's
other
them.
people. They can't handle that situation, right? So go back to understanding where these comments reside from. Where do these comments originate?
Right.
And it originates in them being less than what they want to be.
Yep.
And they're disappointed about themselves.
Yep.
So it's all about them.
Yep. So
you're just in the way,
deflecting.
just getting a bit of a handshake or something on that, right?
Yeah.
Now this is on their end. You can't take responsibility for that because you can't control it.
Right.
What's the point of trying to control something which you can't, which is people's responses? You can't, right? So what you can control though is your inner dialogue
and your own response.
Your own response to this, right? So let me ask you this way: by you just knowing that their response is about them not feeling good about themselves,
for sure.
What changes within you right now?
Yeah, immediately it feels like I don't have to carry that weight.
That weight.
Yeah.
Right. What's your purpose as a referee? What's your role? What's your actual role?
To officiate a basketball game. Is that what you're talking about?
To neutrally be the boundary guy.
Right. Yeah.
that puts boundaries in place and that plays by the rules.
Yes. Got you.
You're literally like the spoon that kind of just dips into the pudding and just allows somebody to eat, right?
Yeah.
You're a tool. You're nothing else.
Yeah,
right?
Got you.
Right? You're actually, you could.
We're spoons.
You could be called. You're spoons, man.
We're just
right?
spoons.
Your name could be SebOSS.
Yeah. No,
it doesn't Nathan, SebOSS. Right. It doesn't.
I'm not Nathan. I'm a black and white shirt.
You are not Nathan that moment. You're actually just a spoon.
Yeah, I'm just a spoon.
You are actually a tool. For them playing by the rules.
So coaches and players, why are you yelling at the spoon for not getting the food in your mouth?
And next time, what you will say is, "Hey, dude, why are you yelling at the spoon?"
Yeah.
I'm just a spoon, right?
I love it. That was awesome.
It doesn't really matter.
I feel good.
Yeah.
So that feels good.
Go in there, right? Have fun, and be the spoon.
Be the spoon.
That's it.
I love it. Be the spoon.
Next time, just carry a spoon literally with you, and when you struggle, I'm serious. Carry the spoon, cut the handle off. You have a little thing in the pocket, and just touch the spoon.
And just know that you're a spoon.
Be connected with the spoon. I mean, I'm just being a bit ridiculous here, but there's a point to it, right?
No, it makes sense.
Or be a fork, or be whatever, right?
Be a fork if you want to be a fork. Yeah,
you're just a tool to enable them to. Somebody has to fail, and that's good for them as well. What happens through failure? What do you permit others to do? To grow.
Yeah.
Right? They have debriefs. They recognize. They understand what has gone wrong. They become better. That's part of you becoming extraordinary. You gotta lose. You know, if you let somebody win where they deserve to lose, you really do them a big disservice because you don't permit them to grow. Right?
Now you're touching on something, Seb.
Yeah. Terrible.
Now you're touching on something. Man, that's another thing I struggle with, actually. The amount of times that I have been worried about winning. So this is like a more personal thing now, and I think it'll help people anyway, so I'm going to say it. The amount of times I've intentionally done worse than I can to not offend or hurt someone else. Particularly when I was younger, I would feel real bad if I beat someone in something sometimes. But you're right, it does both people a disservice. It's not the good thing to do. Yeah.
You know, and also you do yourself a disservice. And I did the same. When I was a tennis player, my early, 15, 16, whatever, how old I was, when I knew I was capable of winning quite easily, sometimes I let somebody win.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get fulfillment out of winning myself. For me, it was more so about me seeing somebody else win.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't get to practice and strengthen my weapons by doing that. And I don't get them to grow either. Right? So, and this is just metaphorically here. This is philosophy, right? So whatever is right and wrong, it doesn't really matter. But you gotta show up. You gotta do your job, man. You know.
Yeah. Beautiful. In regards to self-talk, so you, if I'm not mistaken, you're a big believer in positive self-talk. You even touched on earlier, like looking at the positive side of like what you do want, not what you don't want. Otherwise, you'll get it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I will elaborate, I think, on this a little bit, but
So, I want to know, first of all, what's the importance of self-talk? Because I think it gets a bad rap sometimes amongst people, thinking that it's a bit too fluffy or a bit too woo-woo. And people are like, oh, I have positive self-talk. And I don't even like talking about it sometimes because I'm like, oh, I don't want to sound like one of those people. But I know for a fact in myself that having that positive dialogue breeds more positive results. And I want to know from someone who's really invested a lot of time into studying this type of thing, what's the power of having that positive self-talk, and how can we shift our inner dialogue to be more positive so that we can have more successful results in life and in sport.
So there's a lot in it, right?
I just loaded a lot.
One of the questions is, self-talk, importance, and all that, right? And then kind of how do you go about kind of moving towards the results you want to create, right? They're huge topics, right? We go into neuroscience, we go into plasticity, neuroplasticity. We go into a lot of areas that will take hours and hours probably unpack.
There's a lot,
But again, people who think that positive self-talk, whatever they want to describe it as, is fluffy. I think these are exactly the people also often that don't create the results they want to create for themselves.
True.
People who really accomplish strong results aligned with what they want to create, and I wouldn't call it positive self-talk. I would more call it clarity. Clarity towards what you want to create in your life.
Right.
If you're not clear about what you want, you're literally like a old piece of string dangling in the wind. You get influenced by people left, right, and center. Right. And you maybe can recall moments in your life where you didn't have goals, where you didn't know what you want to do, where you didn't have the clarity towards anything, you're just running in circles, literally. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably had moments where you just randomly walked through the house and just didn't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Right? I mean, whether or not you actually walk in circles, but at least you walk up and down.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So that's why literally in circles, because if we don't know what we want to do with our day, we're like a tiger in a cage. We literally run up and down. We're just like, oh, what can I eat? What can I watch? What can I do? Like, because there's just nothing substantial, nothing meaningful I can engage with. And then we just get drunk or whatever we do, right?
Right.
So really important that successful people, they know what they're after. They have utter clarity around the things they want to accomplish. Right. And whether or not you call that a goal or a vision or positive self, it doesn't really matter what the descriptor is. What matters is...
Let's focus on the clarity.
What matters is how the level to which you're able to pull up a mental picture about what you want to create. Right? That is powerful. If you can pull up a mental picture about who you want to be, how you want to show up as a referee in the game, and you see yourself, you feel yourself, this is powerful, right? And this is why I say, focus towards what you want to create. Be clear about that. Once you're clear about this, you're able to make decisions towards what you want to create and what you don't want also.
Right.
And this is almost even more important. Most people that don't make decisions, they procrastinate, right? Because they don't know how to differentiate between what they actually want or not, and so just nothing happens.
Yeah, I like that point you make as well, because on knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want, because I don't know if you've heard of this experiment. I listened to another podcast, right?
I mean, there are more than just
and I heard this
your podcast.
I heard this example, right? And it was about a mouse in a cage, and they tied like a spring to their tail to see how hard they were pulling, right, towards what they wanted, right? And so they starved these rats, I think. They starved these mice, and from the front of the cage, they wafted in the scent of cheese, and they started pulling. And like these rats, they're starving, right? So you'd think they'd be pulling pretty hard. But then they waft the smell of cheese from the front and the smell of a cat from behind. And they pulled harder. And it's like, you thought they were motivated before? Now you've got the toward motivation and you've got the away motivation. Right. And it's like, there you go. You've got that much more. So I like what you said there, and that's what I wanted to elaborate on real quick. Yep. I really like that. So I can see the importance of having clarity around what you want to achieve, and that being the more important aspect of going out and having a successful performance or reaching whatever goal you have, right?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example from your own life, potentially, where you have been able to create this clarity toward a goal, and just an example of what that looks like? And what do you do to create that? Because I know what it is, but I don't have anything tangible to...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, if you think about...
Do we want to take a goal that you have now?
Yeah, we will. Yeah. So if you think about anything in creation, anything that you see had to be planned, had to be thought of. If whether or not it's a skyscraper or a bridge, or it doesn't, anything that you see had to be thought of first, had to be created, right? Imagine an architect saying, there's a river, and I think we need to get cars over this bridge, over this river.
Yeah.
And then, you just do something. Yeah. This is how most people operate. They're just like, I want to be there, but they're really fuzzy about how to get there. Can you see that?
Yeah, they end up driving their car into the water, don't they?
So imagine you would be that architect. You wouldn't build bridges for very long, right?
Yeah.
But this is how most people operate.
Right.
I want to be a good referee. What the heck does this even mean? I don't want to do mistake. Oh, really? Okay. What does this, like, how to...
There's a big gap
I want to
there.
be to the NBA. I want to run a referee for the NBA. Everyone wants that. Like, that doesn't mean any. Life's not going to be like, yes, you deserve going to the NBA because you really want it. No, they're like, okay, they look upon you and say, hey, what is Nathan's level of clarity to which for him to know what he wants, and what is his level of clarity to know how to get there? And the third point is, what is his willingness to do what it takes? Execution.
Right.
Then is when they start listening.
What's that?
But this is the time when they start listening.
Right.
And they're like, okay, he really knows, he can pull up a mental picture of, he can see himself doing it. He also has planned out how to get there, action steps. He has a bit of a mapping, some projects, some tasks. And he executes daily. He gets up at 5 a.m. every morning and does what his action plan says. Can you imagine these? They're now listening. You're saying, I want to be at, no, then you're just going to let me get back to when he's ready. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Well, it probably starts with a piece blank of paper to think about what area in life do you feel compelled to do something about. Let's say it's you actually want to become a referee for the NBA.
Yep.
Right?
I like it.
Let's take that as an example.
Perfect.
Right? Watch referees in the NBA perform. See yourself and kind of learn about the craft. Get excited about you being in that position, right? You start to create this mental picture. Maybe choose a stadium where you want to referee for the NBA. Create a mental picture of what it looks like when you're right now in your mind's eye experience the moment you being referee for the NBA. That is this level of clarity I'm talking about.
Right.
And you can do that simply.
Super clear.
You can do that pretty easily, right? Just imagine you select the
do
game. Imagine you select the game, 2 teams,
Yep.
stadium.
Yep.
You watch some videos about it. You read some newspapers. You cut some things out. You listen to some podcasts. You maybe interview your favorite referee. Can you see how you start engaging with this world? How you start
the bridge
entering
is
this
starting
world?
to be built.
The plane of the bridge is starting to be
Yeah,
developed.
you're starting to at least those lines.
The
so
architect
like before,
starts drawing up the plan for the bridge. Can you see that?
I can see steps are being taken because
Right.
before it's like I am where I am now. I want to get there. All of this is unknown, no man's land.
Exactly.
Now you're starting to see connections being drawn.
Now, what happens in the same time, you are becoming clear about it, but also you reinforce the message you really want, you really need to hear to actually get there. You diminish the negative self-talk. Can you see that in the same time?
Right. Yes.
Because suddenly you are amongst the referees that actually referee in the NBA.
Right.
You interview them, you watch videos, you listen to podcasts, you read newspapers.
Yeah.
You suddenly dress differently, and you start thinking about your opportunity on the ability to get there in better or in worse ways. What do you think?
Yeah. Better ways.
Better ways. You
Yeah.
suddenly like, hold on a second, that isn't even that impossible actually, because this guy you read a biography and you're like, this guy did it and he started there and now he's there, or she, or so you're entering this world. You create clarity around what you want, and you reinforce who you need to become that actually gets there. Can you see that? And then can you also see that once you're clear about who you need to be, that referees for the NBA, can you also see that how easier it becomes then to reverse engineer some action steps? Hey, what do I need to do? Well, I need to learn some more rules. I need to strengthen my legs. I need to get some better glasses. I need to find more mental strength. I get a mental coach. You can start bringing in resources that actually reinforces your vision for who you want to become again.
Right.
That's the action step.
Yeah.
And then you do it on a daily basis. And this is about routines.
Yep.
Right? You get up early. You speak to your mentors. You train. You offer to referee for free to learn. I don't know. But can you see suddenly you have created this linear progression towards what you want? Where did we start? We started as somebody saying, I'm not good enough. Negative self-talk. I believe that, positive thinking is wishy-washy. All that mind chatter suddenly is reversed when you know what you want. Where you really go for something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right?
That's true. Yeah, I feel that. I like what you said there, particularly when you were like, what would the person I'm trying to become, i.e. NBA referee, do, right? And so like when you pose that question, it's like, how would an NBA referee behave? Oh, well, this person would put work in every single day. This person would do this, that, and the other. And it's not it's not like I need to get up early. It's like, what would the person I'm trying to be behave like? Behave like that?
That's a great point you're just mentioning. So if you're on the court and if you're feeling this, the small self comes in where we feel inferior about having refereed in certain ways, right? Who's your mentor as a referee? It doesn't matter who. Do you have a name or?
We'll check out. Throw JD8 out there. Jackie Dover.
Jackie Dover. Okay, great.
Let's just go with that. Yeah.
So have you met her or?
Oh yeah.
You have met her and you maybe have interviewed her.
I have. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, she's great.
So you can even put yourself mentally in that moment, almost in Jackie
Dover,
and just look through her eyes. How would she respond? How would she behave? How would she react? What would she do? And you almost pre-impose your behavior looking through her eyes and seeing what would she do now.
Yeah.
And you emanate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by doing that, you're aligning again with somebody who has done it, right? And you're almost short fusing your own innate reaction and superimposes with somebody else's kind of experience. Can you see how that would work?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Look through her eyes. What would she do right now? She would just stand by her decision and just go move on, or whatever she would do, right? She wouldn't go around was that right, or did I do something wrong? No, she would just, that's my decision. Even if it was not perfect, it's what I've had for the moment, and let's move on now. It's fine. Right?
I love it. There was something that I wanted to chime in on there as something that benefited me personally. So this is something that I'm going to share real quick. And it reminded me and sparked in my mind when you talked about, when you feeling inferior out on the court and things like that. And I was reading something recently and it was from Psycho-Cybernetics. You know the book? Yeah. Anyway, and it stuck with me because I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And it was around the inferiority complex, right? And some people have an inferiority complex. Some people have a superiority complex. Man, say that fast. Anyway.
Yeah.
And it's funny because even as a referee, sometimes you go out there and you feel like you don't have that confidence that you're good enough because you're constantly comparing and things like that. But what I learned in that moment was that you're not superior or inferior to anybody.
Nice.
And to have people on these pedestals and feel like you can't reach what they've reached is inaccurate because you're unique as you are, basically. And I know it sounds a little bit funky or like, I don't know, it sounds a bit idealistic, but sure. I think that took a big weight off my shoulders when I read that. I was like, holy crap, like I'm not actually worse than everyone else. Like I'm unique in how I am and I'm going to show up how I am. And that's, nobody is going to be as good at being Nathan Cross as I am as being Nathan Cross. And so if I went to the best boxer in the world, no, I'm never going to be as good a boxer as him, but he's never going to be as good a basketball referee as me. You know what I mean? And everyone has pros and cons. So I think I just wanted to add that because
totally.
For me personally, it helped ease that weight. And I thought that was cool. Good opportunity to share it. Cool. I love it. I've got 3 simple finishing questions and we'll just see what happens. And then we'll just end it there. Thanks, SebOSS. So the first one is, what's your favorite book?
From Good to Great by Jim Collins.
I didn't expect that. Okay. And what's the biggest thing that you gained from that book?
So, the good, being good is the moment when you stop trying to be great. Right? In the moment when you are satisfied with being a good referee, you stop being a great referee, or stop trying, or stop aiming for being a great referee that goes to the NBA. And this is the very thing that is preventing you from getting there. Right? So, always aim towards to pushing the boundary of what hasn't been done yet, and always rethink and reimagine what is a better solution to a certain problem. Right?
Okay. SebOSS, do you have any... What advice would you give to your younger self? And that's it. We'll leave it there. I was going to give you more clarity. I was going to be
that's fine.
I was going to be in regards to X, Y, and Z, or at what age. But what comes to you?
Yeah,
what
sure.
comes to you when you look back?
And I'm still learning this, but to relax and to enjoy the process. Just to enjoy the process. Just relax. It's fine.
Wow.
A lot of times you just take things too seriously and too ego, or too, it prevents the very thing that we aim for by easing into something and by relaxing, is prevented by us just being stagnant and just stiff and just being too focused on the goal and all that. Enjoy the ride, rigid. Have some fun, loosen up, guys.
Yeah, I feel like that's good. Right? I feel like I need to hear that, man. I like it. And last question. It might be the same answer, but what advice would you have to young, ambitious referees who want to ref in the NBA, for example?
Michael Jordan, right? He wasn't the world's best basketball player per se, right? But he loved the game and he worked hard for it, right? So love the game, love the process, love becoming better, and work hard for whatever you want. Create clarity and get it done. Move towards it.
I like it. Go get it.
Go get it.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope you gained something of value today. I'm putting a lot of work into this, and there's more heat coming. There's some really special advanced stuff coming out as well, all over my channel. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. You won't miss it. Also, it doesn't cost a cent. It helps me a lot. It makes me feel good. I really appreciate it. Other than that, guys, chuck a comment down below if you have any questions at all or anything you want me to cover off in the future. And that's it. Don't forget, without referees, the game stops.